Hello and welcome into the Sporting Pod. Along with Tony Allegretti and Mauricio Ruiz, I'm Cole Pemper. Coming up on the pod, would you rather win the Premier League or the Champions League? We discuss. The U.S. men's national team roster is out for the Nations League. Were there any surprises for Mauricio Pochettino's squad? The Oakland Roots are looking ahead to a big crowd for the home opener in the Oakland Coliseum in the USL Championship. And we hear from the state champions from St. John's Country Day. A reminder, we are fed by the Bearded Pig, locally owned and operated, with locations in San Marco and Jax Beach. Make sure you swing by the Bearded Pig for great barbecue and great times, as I did just the other day. I went with the brisket sandwich, by the way. Just a quick lunch.
Yeah.
And hit the spot. So good stuff. All right.
Love that brisket.
I love everything they have over there. Tony and I are here in the Gemstone Media Studios in Jacksonville. Mauricio joining us from Portugal. And Liverpool knocked out of Champions League play by PSG, as Tony quietly celebrated as an Everton man.
Super sad.
Yeah, I really broke it up about it. They will win the Premier League almost certainly.
Mm-hmm.
Arsenal and Aston Villa remain in the Champions League. So I got this question on Blue Sky.
Oh. Yeah.
I think it's the first question I've got. I haven't really pushed my Blue Sky account.
No.
But, I'm on it.
Yeah.
To make sure.
I am too. I need to go on. I haven't really checked in a while.
Yeah, this is from Brian K. Jones, who asks, let's say Liverpool wins the Premiership and Arsenal wins the Champions League. Who's happier?
Mm-hmm.
Mal, let's start with you. Who's happier in that scenario?
Well, I'm glad the question is who's happier, because I think they're both going to be elated.
Yeah.
And both of them will take it. I think Liverpool is probably going to need a couple of weeks from this last week to deal with the loss to PSG, specifically being at home, and they rarely lose an European night at home like that. But they've had success in the last, 5 years. They've won the Champions League. They've won the Prem, and if they win again, Arsenal really hasn't had anything outside of an FA Cup, which is no small feat, but nonetheless, it's not the Prem and it's not the Champions League, which is what they really have been setting up for. So I do believe in this new age, if you can kind of compare what's important from one and the other, I think a Champions League trophy or any trophy, whether it would be the Prem or the Champions League, will mean a lot more for the Gunners than it does for Liverpool at the moment.
When you talk about the opportunity to win a trophy, there are several for a Premier League side. Champions League, if you're in it, Premier League every year, FA Cup, Carabao Cup.
Yeah, Carabao Cup.
Community Shield, whatever. There's hardware to be won. Not all trophies are created equal.
Jägermeister Cup.
That's just here in the United States.
True.
Yeah.
Yep. It's a big one.
It's
a big one.
It's one.
Yeah.
But the question is, are those cups equal? Are those trophies equal?
Well, for obvious reasons, I think the Champions League is much bigger and better and more important.
You think
especially this year,
because Liverpool's going to win the Premier League?
I mean, I'm just saying, and also I think any time that Mauricio talks about Arsenal and their happiness, I think he should disclaim that that's his team in the Prem. Like, I don't know if everybody knows that,
I think I have enough professionalism, Tony, to be neutral here and be able to answer it from a place of sanity, unlike others.
I was going to say, let me inject the unsaid that is now said.
Unlike some people, right? Yeah. So
exactly. Can you speak about Liverpool from a sitting down, low heartbeat standpoint?
He's sweating a little bit right now.
Yeah, I am. Just a little bit. It might be the brisket. My meat sweats. The thing is, obviously, in my opinion, the Prem is in the Premier League, to win the league is the biggest thing. Champions League is amazing. It's a great trophy. Everton has won its predecessor, the League Winners' Cup or whatever, a few times. But it's just that's big and that's important. But winning the league is the thing. And so, I think Arsenal fans will be happier. I agree with Mal on that. mostly because they haven't done much, lately. And also, all the Liverpool fans in Norway, they're kind of used to it. So
that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I see.
No.
So, listen, there are financial benefits for the teams, of course, that are different between Champions League and in the Premier League. The Champions League, you get $2.1 million for each victory, $700,000 for each draw in the group stage, and then it rises through there where you're talking about coming out with tens of millions based on how you advance through that. To me, it feels like while the Champions League title is great and substantial, I would ask the question, what if Arsenal and Liverpool were in opposite places? Would they trade spots with each other right now? Would Liverpool trade almost a sure victory in the Premier League for still being alive in the Champions League? And I'd say no.
Yeah, I don't think so. Back to my thing. I think the first thing is winning the Premier League. I mean, you do have kind of this broader claim that you're the best in Europe, which really kind of means you're the best in the world if you win the Champions League. So that is something. But again, to beat out the other 19 teams in the Premier League, you can't get really higher than that.
Yeah. By the way, neither.
That was a great question, by the way,
yes,
Brian.
thank
Good
you
job.
so much.
Yeah,
I think it's a good conversation starter.
Yeah.
I have a friend of mine in town from England this week who's a big fan of, as he calls it, the Arsenal, and I'll be talking about that with him this weekend and discuss what he thinks about it. Hopefully, he'll have a chance to hear this podcast before then, and we can. He'll be prepped.
Is it Mauricio?
No.
Oh, it's a different.
No,
Arsenal
from
fan.
England. Yeah, this
Sorry.
is
sorry.
my other Arsenal fan friend. From Colchester, England.
Oh, nice.
Who's over visiting for a while. All right, so just something to think about and ponder as things advance. Arsenal certainly has to be thought of as one of the teams with a legit chance now. I mean, listen, they're in the final 8. You'd like their chances perhaps to do this. Of course, Real Madrid has looked, or rather, I guess Barcelona is probably the team that people have to keep an eye on to see how things go. Real Madrid also, Bayern Munich. You've got all these teams in the final 8, so we'll be following that as time goes on.
The one good news, before we head out, is Arsenal doesn't have to keep their powder dry now, right? So they can go out to win the Champions League. They're not really in down the stretch run, try to make a move and whatever. They don't have to rest people. So it could be a good year for them.
Yeah, could be for sure. All right, tickets are now on sale. Season tickets for the USL Super League 2025-2026 season for Sporting Jacks. Season tickets start as low as $10 per game for students, $12 per game for supporters, and $15 for general admission. We also have premium, reserved, and field seats available. And I keep saying these field seats and club seats seem to be the hot ones right now, I'm told. Really going fast. So if you want to be a part of things, join the movement by securing your 2025-2026 season tickets today and receive a limited edition inaugural season scarf. The season kicks off in August, but this exclusive offer won't last long. Act fast and be a part of her story, history. Join the movement. SportingJacks.com/tickets. All right, the U.S. men's national team will face Panama in the semifinals of the CONCACAF Nations League tournament on March the 20th in Los Angeles. Mauricio Pochettino has named his roster, the 23-player roster for this tournament. Mal, we continue to kind of keep an eye on what's happening in goal. Patrick Schulte, Zach Steffen, and Matt Turner, all three are in camp. Anybody else really jump out at you? Another position or a choice included or left out that really jumped out at you with this list?
Well, there was an inclusion that's encouraging, not because it's new, but because it's the first time since Copa America of 2024, which is Tyler Adams.
Yep.
This is the first time that he has been called back in over a year, fully healthy. And if you remember, even Copa America that was played here in the U.S., he was coming back from an injury and then he re-injured himself. So I would say that's even longer than that we've seen Tyler Adams fully fit for U.S. national team. So that's really encouraging because he's missed. And I think we can all agree to that we lack a little bit of personality or just discipline in the midfield. The name that is actually encouraging to me, and I think we're going to hear a lot more about him, is Diego Luna.
Yes.
For all of the players in the midfield, that have, he's a currently an MLS-based player. Remember, he comes from the USL pathway into the MLS with Real Salt Lake, and now to make the jump into which really is our full national team at this point. When you look at the names around, I think it's really encouraging to see Diego in there, and he might be making a jump to Europe in his next cycle.
Yeah, very interesting. You got Tyler Adams, Weston McKennie both in there in the midfield. You would think that probably Gio Reyna would be the other one if they're playing three in the midfield, but Luna showed so much toughness and grit in that game we were at. Yeah, balls, as Pochettino mentioned, that game in Orlando, Tony, that you and I attended. That's one to watch for sure. And then, of course, names like Pulisic and Weah and Musa up front. But you do what you want your midfield to kind of describe the personality of your squad.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's such a different player than other options that we have there. And I think of as Adams, really kind of like almost like a Bellingham, not as offensive as Jude, I'd say, but he's just so steady. And I love it when we have possession, and I love it when he distributes, and having kind of a little bit of a different kind of wild man with him in the middle there, going and chasing down balls. It's going to be really fun to watch.
Yeah, I think this is going to be the best indication of where this roster is right now that we've had in a while. Certainly since Pochettino was taken over. So it'll be something to watch. Again, March the 20th against Panama. The other matchup, Canada against Mexico. Take whatever political ramifications you want out of what that matchup might be like in the next round.
Well, Panama alone, I mean, you got a man playing a canal.
Yep,
Panama.
That's right.
Well, I think there are two other names to consider here that, there's no Flo Balogun. I think it might be an injury thing. But you have two MLS players in Charlotte FC and Vancouver Whitecaps, in Patrick Aimeng, and you can correct me, Cole, on how to say his name, and Brian White. And Patrick is really interesting. I mean, he's the one that impressed with his physical and finishing ability. And we're still searching for the number 9. You got Josh Sargent that's in here. For some reason, Yunus Musa was labeled as a forward in this call-up. So I don't know if it's a wide player situation.
Interesting.
But, I think we're pretty set. Christian Pulisic on one side, Timothy Weah on the other side. But who's our number 9? I think we have the same question as we do at the bottom of the pyramid as we do at the top of the pyramid. Who's going to be our number 1 and who's going to be our number 9?
Yeah, very interesting to see.
Brian White, he's the guy that scored that first goal the game we were at in Orlando.
That's right.
Yeah, that's a nice touch.
Yes,
kind of chunky looking dude.
I like it.
Yeah.
And I will say, I always root for the fat guy.
Yeah.
The fact that
man, they score goals too. Like we all know some fatties that putting it in on BASL. Yeah.
Listen, there are there's something to be said as well for players who have performed in front of Pochettino in his own eyes in a game, and it appears that he values that to some extent. And there's nothing wrong with that. It hasn't always been the case that if you perform in one game that you're going to be up the next time. So,
and also I should say that dude's probably not fat at all. I mean, like he just kind of looks like a different.
Put him next to Pulisic.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm sure he's got freaking abs of steel. Like I'm just totally. I don't want Brian to come kick my ass, so I'm gonna just.
All right.
Yeah. Sorry.
Good, because I know a lot of the guys on the national team listen to this podcast and really take a lot of inspiration from it. So good thing.
Exactly.
By the way, if you want more from Sporting Jacks on TV and radio every weekend, you can check out the Sporting Jacks Report, noon Saturdays on NBC before Premier League coverage most weeks. Occasionally, and we're getting into a time of the year when there are some slight movements in the schedule because of sports on NBC. So, for example, this weekend, it is a Sunday noon show on the 6th. Is that the 16th? Whatever that winds up being. The 16th. And then the next 2 weeks, it'll be 12:30 on Saturday. So just set those DVRs and watch it at your leisure. But don't miss an episode.
Well, can we say that we also post it on YouTube later?
We do put it on our YouTube channel as well. You can watch it there.
A lot of people do that.
Yep. And then on radio every Tuesday at 6, the Sporting Jack Soccer Hour on 1010XL and on demand at 1010XL.com. All right, let's get into some high school soccer here. St. John's Country Day, the second of 3 high school state champions that were profiling here after the season is wrapped up. First, we talked about Bartram Trail winning last week. Ponte Vedra also won. We'll get them in a future episode. They topped the St. John's Country Day. They topped the Pine School 4-0 in the finals, holding the highest scoring player in the nation without a goal. Giovanna Wakesman had scored 84 goals in 17 matches. I'm going to say that again because it sounds like I just said a typo.
Yeah.
I did not.
Yeah.
84 goals in 17 games. She got nothing against the Spartans.
Dang.
They put together a plan. Mike Pickett, one of the best coaches, has been named as the best high school girls soccer coach in America. He has certainly earned that. 15 state titles now. The season, though, was not a cakewalk for St. John's Country Day. They had 11 lineups in 18 games. At one point, they had to change the formation. Usually, they'd be a 4-3-3. They had to shake that up. This was a team of grit and determination and confidence. Here are junior midfielder Callie Barang, senior center back and captain Mia Johnson, and the aforementioned head coach Mike Pickett on the keys to the season.
I mean, honestly, I feel like the confidence that Coach Pickett instilled in us was at the beginning of the season. He told us, this is the game plan. If we can follow it, then we could get a trophy. So I feel like I personally believed in our team from the beginning. I mean, I can't speak for everybody else, but I know that, personally, I felt like if we followed with what Coach Pickett told us to do, then we could do what we wanted, which was bring home a trophy, and that's what we did. So
there is, you look on the wall, and you can just go through the list. You'll have another year up there pretty soon here. The expectations and the history of this program, is it a heavy expectation? Is it does it motivate you? Does it how do you feel about everything that's happened here and the legacy that you've left?
Yeah, so I've been in the program since 6th grade. I played with my older sister too, so I got to be a part of the teams that won the state championships, and I got to see when I was younger. I always looked up to the older girls, and they're very inspiring. And just seeing that, I was always like, I want to be there someday, and so. I was a part of one of the teams to win a state championship, and I was also part of the team to lose and end the streak. But I think being able to experience both really was unique, because a lot of people haven't. And going from that, having the feeling of winning it and then having the feeling of losing it, this year I was like, I don't want that feeling again, I want to win just like we did in the other years. So definitely nobody wanted to be part of the team that lost it all, but I mean, it was going to come eventually. But definitely flipping the script was, not easy, but it was motivating for sure to be the team to get it back on track. And so I think that's super special that we got to create a new legacy.
From our very first practice, which was Midnight Madness. It was the very beginning of the season. We come out, we step on the field at midnight, and I knew this team had it. I think what this team has is where we lack talent, we have grit and just desire to win. And there's so much team culture here. We all just wanted it from the get-go. And I remember Coach Pickett said the very first night, if you want it, you're here on the bus with us. But if you don't want to get off the bus now, you're just going to drag us down. And everybody bought in and wanted it. And so I think that's kind of what led us to victory.
Talking about the grit of the team.
Yeah.
Love when a center back talks about grit. Such a big part of that position.
For sure, yeah.
How does that emanate out from you to the team, and how did you try to put your stamp on this thing?
Yeah, for sure. No, I think that kind of how I do my part is definitely communicating, controlling, because I can kind of see everything in front of me. A lot of times just the way that I communicate to people, hold people accountable, stuff like that. Our whole back line, because she calls us the A kickers, where we have a bunch of grit and constantly there working for each other.
Probably one of the most physical teams I've had. I told them if we could be good on set pieces and be really good at ball winning, we would have a chance to win state, because this was a different team than our style of play over the past 25 years. So it was rewarding to win it in a different way. And but this team's so gritty, so much fight, and they just kept showing up every day. Never got down on themselves. We had 3 losses, all to very good teams, but I think Bishop Moore was probably the one that hurt the most, because they just dominated us and spread us out really well, and that one was the most frustrating one. And so and that was December 19th, and I think that's the last time we gave up a goal. So we gave up a couple bad ones in that game, and you look at the final, we scored 3 set piece goals. So they did what we asked them to do.
There's Mike Pickett there wrapping things up. It is, I asked him, you've won 15 state titles. Is this one different? And you can hear him really talk about how they had to adapt and do so much different. One of the other things, Tony, that the players mentioned was they felt like they had never been more prepared for a championship game, for any game, than they were for that finals game. It's because they had to come out with a plan to handle Giovanni Wakesman, and the plan worked. They kept the ball from her feet. And
like were they playing a 1-1-9?
More or less.
I mean,
so
it's incredible.
Basically, and I had a chance to go back and watch some of the game as I was pulling highlights for a story we'll do on our TV show. But they basically put one midfielder,
a marker,
basically a marker the whole way, but then beyond that, they flooded the midfield and basically tried to keep it so. Keep her from getting the ball to her feet, and then when she did, really collapse on her. But so they really did a great job of limiting her touches, and
a lot of times when you play, especially at a high level, you play that man mark situation. You find out where the other talent is on the team, and it can be a real issue. But it sounds like they were ready for her, and can you imagine how upset Giovanna must have been the next day? Like, I think about the mental health sometimes of these kids, and if you're putting in 84 goals in 17 games and you get shut out, man, you gotta that's a rough day at the office.
Yeah, you got to wonder what in the world happened.
Yeah.
Cool. Did Coach Pickett talk about his goalkeeper situation at all when you met with him?
No, we didn't talk. We basically talked more high level for the most part. He did mention the sort of the tactical adjustment that he made. But
early in the season, he had mentioned that he had lost he would not have a returning competitive goalkeeper that had experience playing soccer at this level, that were playing club. So he tried out several different other athletes. And who was in goal was a young lady that had never played competitive soccer in the whole season, and she was a competitive cheerleader. So very, very athletic, very brave, but had never played competitive soccer up to that point. And so he said like he was going to be challenged to switch their style of play from what they've done before, based on the pieces that they had available to him. And he just did not know what kind of season he was going to go. So the fact that they actually won this year with what he labeled a grittier but less maybe talented team in the sense of the word, this must be out of 15 state championships. This must have been a sweet one because he also lost his star player at the beginning of the season. So I think it's a really impressive and a huge testament to him as a coach, as an overall, winning mentality, but also adapting to his conditions.
Yeah, he said the first one special, and then the two repeat. So those were his two favorites. This one number 3 out of all of them. And when you get to a certain point in your career, and suddenly you have to do things, things that you have done in the past aren't working the right way. And by the way, it wasn't like they went through the season with a 500 record. Their losses came to Ponte Vedra, Bartram Trail, and Bishop Moore, I think.
Ballers. Yeah,
all top programs. 2 of them won state championships.
And yeah.
So that's a major.
Thanks for bringing up that keeper thing too, Mal. That's so impressive. I love that. She was communicating out of the back to a cheerleader. That's awesome. That is awesome.
A lot of encouragement for
sure. Yeah, brilliant.
Pickett also mentioned the leadership of Mia Johnson, who we heard from there, the center back. He said it was just one of the best leaders that he's had on the program. And when you have great leadership on the field and buy-in, you can do great things. That's exactly what happened. So congratulations to the Spartans of St. John's Country Day. We'll hear from Ponte Vedra here in an upcoming episode. All right, back in the USL Championship, the Oakland Roots have their home opener on March the 22nd. That is at the Oakland Alameda County Coliseum, or as I used to call it, the house that Banaszak built. Different. The team posted they have surpassed 15,000 tickets, and they've opened up the second bowl. Now, the record for a USL, it was called USL Pro at the time, a USL game, 31,478. That was FC Cincinnati against Indy 11 in 2018, I think right before FC Cincinnati went to MLS. They had several big crowds of over 20,000 at FC Cincinnati. But, there's an opportunity here, Mauricio, that Oakland could have a massive, massive crowd in a stadium that obviously has seen some great moments through the years with the A's and the Raiders, but this could be a really substantial moment for the Oakland Roots from a soccer standpoint.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the Roots have, they've been doing a really good job, and they've recognized that they needed a permanent home. And as you mentioned, that stadium, the Oakland Coliseum, has been so historic, and it seems like Oakland slowly are like losing their top level, professional teams, with Golden State moving across the bridge, and as you mentioned, the Raiders, leaving. I think this restores a little bit of that, that home stance in the Oakland Coliseum, and maybe the Roots can become that, for them, and they can be a team that the community is proud of. And let's see. I don't know. I mean, I think 31,000 would be difficult to break at any capacity. But if they can get above 20,000, what an atmosphere to play under, and to know that it's happening in the USL. Can they sustain that over the season? I'm not sure. But I think it's really encouraging that can at least get a home starter in what they're going to call their new permanent home.
Yeah. Well, I think they should get their owner, Armstrong, Billy Day Armstrong, to do a concert with Green Day to warm it up. That'll do it. That'll put him over.
That'll get him over the top.
Yeah.
All right. That's all it takes.
I would go.
Yeah.
I would try to figure out how to go.
There we go.
Yeah.
It's something to follow. We'll certainly keep an eye on it, and we'll be highlighting that as well once that game rolls around. Hey, if you're not quite ready to pull the trigger on season tickets, you can become a member of Sporting Jacks. Membership has its privileges.
How much is it?
It's absolutely free, Tony. I'm glad you asked.
Whoa.
You get discounts on Sporting Jacks official club merchandise, invitations to insider events, automatic chances to win special prizes and experiences, and you'll receive the Sporting Jacks email newsletter. Place a deposit on season tickets and receive first access to seats and special limited edition Sporting Jacks founding member pin. Just go to sportingjacks.com.
Those founding member pins too. So if you've signed up for anything and you're a member, and you see us out in the wild, at events or whatever, ask for your pin. Riley and whomever's who's working will make sure that you get your founding member pin.
Yeah, there we go. All right, something you can wear with pride.
Yes.
Let's look ahead to this weekend in the Premier League. Saturday, Sunday, and Tuesday matches this week, and Wednesday, as a matter of fact, Thursday. Basically, if you want to see some Premier League action,
happy days around here.
Yeah, a lot going on. Tony, what jumps out at you from the Premier League schedule for the upcoming weekend?
It's also weird right now, because there's no race. Really,
not for the top.
No, not for the top.
There are other races to find.
There's other races, so let's go with the one. Maybe I think that that is interesting to me is the Arsenal-Chelsea.
Mm-hmm.
Chelsea's kind of had a little bit of a slide, and I don't know. That one on Sunday is something, but I don't know.
Yeah, we've talked about where Arsenal is in terms of Champions League and the Premier League. Chelsea coming off a 1-0 victory over Leicester. They beat Southampton, lost to Villa, lost to Brighton, beat West Ham. So they've been lately beaten up on the teams at the bottom of the table and having more trouble with the teams, mid to top of the table.
Yeah.
So we'll see if they can turn things around here.
So if I were to just kind of guess who would win that match, I'm going to say Chelsea, just because it's like the thing. It's just so topsy turvy right now that it seems like in Arsenal's at home. I just can imagine whatever 60,000 Gooners walking out there cussing. That's my prediction.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mal, how about you?
I kind of got my eyes on Bournemouth. I mean, if you remember, only a couple weeks ago, they were in the top 4. I mean, it was short-lived, but they're only 3 points away from a Champions, from a Europe positioning. And with Man City kind of being, up and down, I know City plays Brighton. That's a really good game too, because that could actually flip their positioning, which would be an interesting matchup. But I think Bournemouth, they're not. I mean, they're in 9th place, which tells you how condensed the table is and how competitive. That within this win and City losing, they could potentially move to 6. I think that's a really interesting matchup, Bournemouth and Brentford.
And by the way, I'm going to correct myself. I said there's matches Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. That's not until the start of April. So there's a break here coming up for FA Cup action here in just a bit. I like the matchup between Spurs and Fulham coming up on Sunday, gentlemen. I think these are two clubs that have had the chance to make a move, and neither one of them has been able to get much traction. Spurs have really, had their struggles. They had a string of 3 straight wins snapped with a loss to Man City, and then they drew with Bournemouth. So they're still looking to get their feet underneath them. Fulham, right now, they're in 10th, but they are 5 points from 6th. 5 points from 5th, as a matter of fact. Yeah. That's where the race is right now.
Yeah.
We should also point out that while most years there have been 4 teams from the Premier League make it into the Champions League, with the expanded field and a different way or additional ways to earn spots for the top leagues, the expectation is that the Premier League will get 5 spots in the Champions League. So for those teams that right now who are thinking, am I in a position for Europe or what, there may be one more spot than we're used to. And so for a club like Fulham, if they can make a move here over the last 10 matches of the year, they could find themselves within shouting distance of making a run to earn a Champions League spot or at least a spot in Europe.
Yeah, and then the FA Cup winner goes, right? Yeah. So it could be Newcastle.
Yep.
Right. So and Newcastle could not make it and still make it.
Yeah.
And so it could be 6, right?
You could have as many as 6.
Yeah. That's insane.
And if you win the Champions League, you get automatic in the next year. I think so.
I think that's the case.
So
would make sense.
Way to earn your way in. So interesting. We'll be following that. For most teams, 9 or 10 matches remaining in the Premier League.
I do feel
schedule.
for our. You mentioned the Spurs as your game. I do feel for the Spurs right now. They're 8 behind Fulham. Like they could win that game and still be 5 behind Fulham, and it's not a great season for them.
That's a shock.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, guys. That's just. And there's so many Spurs fans in the city that I feel bad for them.
I will note one of the reasons why Spurs are in the position they're in is they haven't found ways even to earn draws. They've only drawn 4 matches all year long, incling the 2-2 at Bournemouth.
They need to watch more Everton
against Bournemouth. Yeah, that's the
all,
way to do
that's
it, right?
all we
12
do.
draws for Everton, which is
gosh.
I think the most in the league this year. Yep. All right. So anyway, that'll do it. We've had a lot to talk about. Big announcements coming shortly for Sporting Jacks. We look forward to those. We're going to have a big next couple of weeks.
I have one more thing.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
okay.
I always do
Here
this.
we go.
Yeah, here we go. I'm sorry, guys. But I want to say that I spent a lot of time this weekend watching the Super League and kind of just, getting a feel for it. And there is some ball being played. Like there were some matches where I'm like watching for like 15 minutes. There's hard press, hard defense, and they're just working the ball around. It's like absolutely high level. I've been really impressed. The crowd at Dallas looked really strong. Anyway, we kick off in August. I would highly recommend. I know you got a Peacock subscriber, so get on Peacock and watch a couple matches is my recommendation. Thanks for letting me sneak that in.
I like it. All right, for Tony Allegretti and Mauricio Ruiz, I'm Colt Pepper. Thanks so much for listening to The Sporting Pod.